For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod driveline components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro. This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, welcome back. WFO Radio back on the air following a historic NHRA national event. The NHRA Fall Nationals, the Stampede of Speed. We've been hyping this event for a year, really, since we flew out there last year. And then this year, our WFO Patreon meetup was out there. It was a sensation. It was amazing. So many records, so many personal bests, so many incredible milestones. Erica Enders becomes the winningest female driver in motorsports history. All at the Texas Motorplex. Wow. So many things to list. The new Top Fuel track record was reset. The quickest pro stock field in history happened. Just so many amazing performances, all at the Stampede of Speed at the Texas Motorplex. The first ever NHRA themed drone show. Well-attended concerts. And in fact, this is a stat that I have received right directly from the Motorplex staff, the statisticians there that were counting everything. The biggest crowd since the mid-1990s at the Texas Motorplex for the Fall Nationals, making it the race of the century. Wouldn't it be great if I could add like an echo feature? Race of the century. Century. That's how big a deal it was. So happy to be a part of it. We're going to recap it on this show. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, is getting ready down there in Tucson, Arizona. He is back. I am back in studio, but just the echoes and reverberations of all that happened. The first Tony Stewart Racing double up. Matt Hagan and Leah both winning, getting the job done. Gaige Herrera setting the world record. Pro Stock Motorcycle ET crushing it. Andrew Hines, super proud about that. And the accolades that just extended beyond the Camping World Series into the Lucas Oil Series. Doug Gordon, Julie Nataas, both clinching their championships at the NHRA Fall Nationals. Just so much going on. It was debatably the greatest single event that has ever occurred in the history of NHRA drag racing. And yes, I paint in hyperbole and I say things like that all the time just to encourage people to prove me I'm wrong with stats. Well, Joe, and Alan Reinhart will say, Phoenix 92 was the greatest single event that has ever happened in the history of NHRA drag racing. And he'll come at me with some stats. And it's definitely worthwhile thinking about. Now, why did all this happen? Mon nature. We got great weather. We got the combining factor of a great track and a pivotal event at a critical time in the season where nobody's like testing and experimenting on stuff that's not going to work. And we got great and beautiful weather. So it's going to be awesome. We're going to talk about all of it. I see all out there commenting and chatting. We had our Patreon meetup. It was incredible. I'll talk about all of that stuff. But first, I want to mention the people who make it possible, the people who support WFO Radio, like Bernie's Speed Shop in Ocala, Florida. Bernie's, this is Josh Hart's home business. Over 100,000 square feet. They're looking for cars to sell on consignment. They're selling cars if you're looking to buy. Not just muscle cars, although they have plenty, but exotics and luxury cars. They've got all kinds of great stuff on their showroom. They're an e-bike dealership. There's a lot of people riding around on e-bikes nowadays in the pit area. Go to BURNYZZ.com. Find out more about Bernie's and definitely follow along with their social media. Josh Hart jumping on board with WFO Radio here, and we really appreciate the support of our program. Love our program. Love to keep it going. Thanks to the folks at Total Seal Piston Rings. There's a new Hidden Horsepower podcast up. And if you have ever been interested in electronic fuel injection, like how does it work and why does it work and what's going on and what's the story, you want to listen to the episode, the most recent episode with Shane Tecklenburg, who walks in multiple motorsports worlds, as in drag racing, as in the Pikes Peak hill climb, as in the Bonneville salt flats, and has tuned electronic fuel injection setups to great success in all of them. But how are they different, and what works, and what do you need to do to avoid the pitfalls if you have just installed a fuel injection system? All of those things are being discussed on the latest episode of Hidden Horsepower. Go check it out, download it, subscribe, write a review, all of that. Why do we do that show? What's the point? The point is that if you haven't figured out by now that piston ring technology has advanced a light year in the last 10 years, it's amazing. Ring seal, coatings, cylinder wall finish, all working together to create that, what Lake Speed calls ring seal soup, the perfect combination that unlocks the hidden horsepower. Go to totalseal.com to find out more and make them your first call, not your last call. Thanks to Total Seal. And we'll be doing a new episode in the coming weeks. Phillips-Connect.com. This is smart trailer technology for people that are out there in the transportation industry going over the road. You've got trucks and trailers on the road, preferably more than just one or two. If you're monitoring them and you're wondering, like, where's the driver? Is it loaded? What about the safety systems on the truck? What about the brakes? All of those things can be monitored by Phillips Connect systems. Smart trailer technology. And if you're thinking, well, that doesn't matter, it absolutely does, because time is money. And when the trailers are not on the road, you're losing money. And so better to notice that something is about to go wrong and then wait until it actually goes wrong. This is not an advanced concept. We do it in just about everything else. It's better to figure it out first, except the technology wasn't there to do so until Jim Epler, a drag racer, invented it. And now Phillips-Connect can make it available to you guys. If you want a personal introduction from me, email me, joe@wforadio.com, and we'll put you together with the team out there at Phillips-Connect.com, or you can go to their website on your own. You learned a little bit about FTI Performance at the start of the show. We appreciate these guys because of what they do with transmissions and torque converters. They're an industry leader. I was monitoring the Jegs All-Stars, watching the cars that went rounds and went to the final, and a whole bunch of them had FTIperformance.com decals, and a lot going on there. Not only do they make great performance transmissions, but they can stand up to extreme power. These 2,000 horsepower grocery getters that are out there on the drag and drive scene, FTI Performance has got a lot of those transmissions and torque converters out there. Pro Modified, Top Sportsman, Top Dragster. They've got a lot of the transmissions and torque converters out there because they can stand up to the power and still deliver the consistency that you need. But it's not only for racing applications. If you've got a performance street car and you need a shift kit, they do that too. FTI Performance, transmissions and torque converters. Hit them up. Tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. And then there's the folks at Foggit. Gary Stinnett, Steve Williams will be heading west, so we'll be seeing some Steve out there. Gary is going to be our next guest on Hidden Horsepower. We're going to talk a little bit about .90 engine builds and how they are different. But the folks at Foggit are saving money for people by protecting the inside of the cylinder walls of your engine. You've gone through all this excessive research, development, taking advantage of the latest technology, and then you're just going to put it away at the end of the night and allow condensation to destroy it? Yeah, whatever. I don't think so. And Gary has been working for years to reduce that and has finally developed a product specifically for that purpose. You fog it down. Pro stock teams, fog it down. Pat Topolinski was the first person who ever told me about that. Like, what do you guys do? Every night we fog it down. We got to protect the inside of those cylinder walls. We put so much into them. Now there's a product for it. You got to fog it down with Foggit. Go to the website, FOGGIT.com. Hit their social media to find out more. Go to their YouTube channel. Learn all kinds of lessons about why you need to fog it down. But really, you should just take my word for it and buy yourself a case. That's the way to do it. Later on in the show, we'll tell you about Frank Hawley's drag racing school. We'll tell you about Marvin Rodak, who is out there. Oh, my gosh. And I am enjoying the Stampede of Spleed blend. It's got me so hyped up. Go to roadxcoffeeandgrills.com. And of course, our great friends at samtech.edu will tell you all about the Stampede of Speed later on in the show. But first, let's bring on the voice of the NHRA. Let's see if I can. Oh, look at him walking on camera. There he is. Alan Reinhart, Division 7, the Pacific Division. No, you guys did it, man. You got it done. Jegs All-Stars. Congratulations. Breaking out last year's shirt. All joking aside, Reinhart, like,
who's joking?
Well, I'm talking about a different topic here. You know, you're
okay.
having a little fun with us. You broke out last year's shirt. It's great. But the Jegs All-Stars, there were many questions amongst racers when it was originally announced about bringing the All-Stars from the U.S. Nationals to the Stampede of Speed. What would it be like? How would they be treated? Would they get the appropriate presentation? Would it add to the event that's already a mega event? And I feel like they were all answered, but I'm going to serve it up to you. Was it a good idea to bring the All-Stars to the Stampede of Speed?
Yeah, definitely. It needed to be moved from the U.S. Nationals. You know, as I said in the opening ceremonies, when it was at the U.S. Nationals, it just kind of got lost in the shuffle. There's so many things going on at Indy. It just, okay, well, what's today's special thing? Okay, well, what's today's special thing? Or, well, what's today's special thing? And it needed to get out of there because it deserved to have a bigger and brighter spotlight. So taking it somewhere was basically a necessity. And I got to tell you, I was a little apprehensive when they first said Texas, because this for a few reasons, you know, like, is that the right place with all of the stuff they do surrounding the Stampede of Speed already? But what Christy and her staff and the people down there did to include them in all of those things was epic. You know, having all the drivers come out and be part of the fan fest, and be part of the autograph session, having a welcome breakfast for them in the championship or the Champions Club before they got into competition. Everything that they did with it, I thought was first rate, and I am quite impressed. And of course, the fact that we won doesn't hurt. So, yeah, I think it was a very good. I think, you know, certainly in hindsight, it looks like they made the right choice taking them down there to the Texas Motorplex.
Well, and we saw it when we interviewed the winners who remained, and I understood some people had to get out of there. They had lost in the Eliminator, and so they headed off on Saturday night and got home mid-Sunday so they could go to work on Monday. It makes perfect sense. But some people had stuck around, and we got to bring them up on the stage for driver introductions of the Fall Nationals and the Camping World Series. And to the man, and Troy Olsanowski said it like, I couldn't believe all the different stuff we were included in. You mentioned the autograph session. They got to do a parade in front of the crowd. They got a happy hour to watch Nitro and the Friday night live session. Like, just all kinds of added value for being an all-star. And like, being an all-star is not easy. It takes commitment. It takes financial and a time commitment. You got to show up at the races. You got to be successful. When you do it, you should be honored for having done it. And not that they weren't at Chicago, not that they weren't at the U.S. Nationals, but this is a massive event specifically designed for that purpose. So the Jegs All-Stars were a welcome addition, and they're all coming in from out of state, bringing their friends, bringing their folks. I think it's only going to blossom in the future.
I think so as well. Yeah, you know, everything you said is true. I think, you know, in Chicago, when they were there, they certainly did a number of things to make it special for them. You know, having Woody involved made it a big deal as well. And since he is no longer a part of Jegs, you know, some of the stuff that Woody used to do wasn't happening anymore. But certainly the Texas Motorplex picked up the slack and deduced it. You know, got them included in so many things. You know, in fact, for people that don't know, and I'm sure that there's a few of our viewers that are, you know, like Nitro. This takes a year to qualify for. I mean, literally starting in Vegas. At the divisional, I think there's one isn't there one in Richmond this weekend? But starting for Division 7, starting in Vegas in a couple of weeks, we will start earning points towards who makes the team next year. And what it's always been, at least in Division 7, the only thing that really matters is the Jegs All-Stars up until we get to about Indy, right? Labor Day, then it's, okay, the team is set now. We know who's qualified, we know who's made. And then everybody looks at, okay, well, where do we stand in the division championship for the Lucas deal? But because you can start earning points for the Jegs deal now, and, you know, trying to make it back next year, and I'm sure when everybody gets home, it's going to be a couple of things. One, in case you hadn't heard, we're the defending champions And two,
Yes.
everybody that's going to go back, and it's not just Division 7, but everybody that's going to go back, when they get to the next race and they're going to go, okay, so tell me what it was really like down in Texas. They're going to go, well, let me tell you what it was really like. And that's going to be even more incentive for drivers to try to earn their way in. So, no, it was a great event. I loved most of it. I certainly loved the final 2 cars down the racetrack in Top Sportsman.
Yeah, amazing. Well, and the drama of that build up to if then. And you got to have that. It was not a foregone conclusion, and just an intensity about every moment of the Jags All-Stars. And we had a great time. Congratulations to the Pacific Division. There's a lot of great racers out there, and they earned it. The Southeastern Division, to my peoples, maybe next year. Last year, we finished second, and we've won it a lot. This was not one of those years, so he did not do very well. Just like Division 1, right? Not the best year. It just got bounced early. Division 4 was good. Division 7 was good. It was kind of a battle between the hometown Texas crowd and Division 7, and out west won it. And you know what was the real, and we're going to move on. Obviously, we want to talk about Erica. We want to talk about Doug Gordon and Julie Nataas. Like, too much to talk about, Alan. We're going to have to compress every conversation point because there were so many. But when the division with California beats the division with Texas in Texas, and then the race fans from Texas pay tribute and a standing ovation, like, that is what drag racing is. There was no catcalls. There was no walking out of the grandstands, slamming their hats down. It was just honor and integrity to all of the racers. It was awesome.
Well, it's that kind of program. You know, everybody that participates understands what everybody did to get to this point. And it's going to be the same thing when we get to the ET National Championship in Vegas in a couple of weeks. Everybody that makes it that far understands how difficult it is to make it that far. And so for whoever it is, and I think I include the fans in that. So whoever it is that goes ahead and closes the deal, man, that's just, they earn that respect and that adulation. And I think it's great that the Texas fans showed it to them.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So let's move into the countless other accolades. Like, there were so many things that happened. The championships turned. It's, it had been used a couple of times. It's a hinge race. You can't win the championship, but you can certainly lose the championship. Some racers may have lost the championship this past weekend. It's difficult and it's heartbreaking. Others may have put themselves into position. And I want to talk a little bit about what I believe to be a milestone that is, beyond drag racing. And it is Erica Enders becoming the winningest female driver in motorsports history. I know in drag racing, we like to segregate ourselves and only talk drag racing, but I don't know who the person is that would contend for that title with Erica, whether it be IndyCar, Formula One, karting, NASCAR, World Rally. Like, who is the female driver that has won at the highest level 47 times? I don't know them, which means our sport, which, yeah, okay, we're not turning. We have different things, and our different things, as described by Tony Stewart, who has turned, as challenging, a different challenge, but as challenging nonetheless, thus should be considered together. Erica and her win and her milestone deserves to be saluted beyond the drag racing world, in my opinion, what she has done as she closes in on 50 NHRA national event wins.
I think so too. And I think, there's a lot of people that look at, well, drag racing, it doesn't take it doesn't take the physical stamina that NASCAR does, or it doesn't take, all true, 100% true. But none of those other motorsports that you talk about are sudden death every round. A NASCAR driver can go a lap down and come back. An IndyCar driver can screw up on pit road and come back. You can't do that in NHRA, right? Every single time you go to the starting line, it's sudden death. If you screw this up, it's not, well, you got 300 laps to make it back, or you got 400 miles to make up for it. It's pack up your junk and we'll see you next week. So it's a different type of discipline. And, is it easier to win? No. Is it less physically demanding? Certainly. But is it easier to win? No, because for every competitor that's out there, it's exactly the same challenge for them. they have to be mistake-free all day long, every time, in order to get into the winner's circle. So, it's a tremendous accomplishment. And, it's one obviously Erica's been chasing for a while. With Angel changing categories and still being competitive, this ain't over yet in drag racing. Angel certainly has the potential to go out and add to her win total. And as far as Erica, I have no idea how long she intends to do this. She has said more than once, I'm never going to win 100 races because I don't plan to be here as long as Greg Anderson has been here. And so we'll just have to wait and see. But I know that her goal is to set the bar as high as she possibly can.
Absolutely. And all you fans out there, I see in the chat section, putting your comments up in the chat section, like Walt is out there. What's up, Walt? Good afternoon. We ask you to share the show. Just click share, click like. That helps us so much. It teaches the algorithms that there are people that love the show and it needs to get out there. But actively click that share button or retweet, and it'll go out there much beyond your own audience. And we appreciate that. But Pro Stock, I feel like the points battle kind of turned here. Erica really dominated, right? The runs, qualified third. Greg Anderson was the number one qualifier, but she beat Eric Latino first round, Christian Quadra second round, living in the 646, 647 range. That semifinal run against Troy Coughlin Jr., when he exploded the engine, started to diesel, like that was as spectacular as anything can get, by the way. You could hear the sound of it just eating itself alive. Oh my gosh, what a spectacle. And then she runs the final round against Dallas Glenn. She's 0.26. Her reaction times on the day, 56 against Eric Latino, the number 14 qualifier. No need to push that red light possibility, by the way. 27, 12, and then 26. Like, that is a great day at work for any racer. And with that win, Erica goes up, 85 points? 85 points over Greg Anderson. 1.5 points at the finals, but Erica's going to Vegas.
Have you seen the entry list for Las Vegas?
Not yet.
Jag Coughlin's name is on it.
Good. Jag is back, baby. They've been teasing us now for half a season. Well, I fully anticipate that the KB Titan cars are going to have to change their strategy and go back to the trying to qualify 16th deal. 85 points is a lot of points. You got to get on the offense, and you got to try to take her out early, because it's not going to happen. And so you might as well break out a little, jegster. That's exciting. Thanks.
Well, I don't know how much necessarily strategy is needed. And will I be surprised if somebody goes out there and shuts off in qualifying? I guess it depends on how many cars are there, right? Because your biggest nightmare would be to go out there and try to do the strategy thing and then end up 17th. But, Eric Latino in round number 1, that's a KB Titan race car. And there's enough of the rival competitors out there. If you just go do your normal deal, there's probably a pretty good chance you're going to face off with her second round anyway. And then what are you going to do? I think the most impressive thing, Erica's driving on Sunday was certainly solid, no doubt. But the most impressive thing was that the car picked up, because in qualifying, she was among the front runners. But on Sunday, she was the front runner. And she talked about it in the winner's circle, that she and Kyle, Kyle Bates, one of the engine guys and one of the track tuners. And he said, I'm not quite there. You give me your best effort on Sunday. I'll give you my best effort on Sunday, and we'll make this all work out. And that's certainly what happened. But she came out Sunday morning and basically just told everybody, I have the car to beat, even though in qualifying, I was, and again, she was among the front runners, right? She qualified third. It's not like she qualified 14th. She was among the front runners, but then on Sunday, she was the front runner, and nobody could slow her down.
Quickest field ever, including the carburetor era.
Ever, yeah.
Well, it's good that we finally got there.
Yeah, 20 of the drivers there, and there were 22 in Pro Stock. 20 of the drivers that were there set their best either speed or ET of the year at Dallas. The racetrack is spectacular. You can race down either lane at Dallas. There's always a favorite, but it wasn't really any performance advantage or disadvantage that I saw. And the weather was good. So that was the perfect time to go out there and strut your stuff, and everybody did.
Yeah. It's amazing how it all worked out. But some of the other cars that were in contention, like Greg Anderson, 85 points back in second, Dallas Glenn, 93 back in third, Hartford, 108 back, Aaron Stanfield 123 back, like certainly 145 back for Troy Coughlin Jr. Derek Kramer, who won the Friday Night Live Battle of the Saddle, which that was a big run, that 48-0 at the time, is in 7th. But certainly there's a line somewhere that people are out, like, Hartford. If he wins out the next 2, then he's still in the mix, depending on if he gets some help or not. But it's going to take a Herculean effort to do that. And so, Erica is definitely in the driver's seat for 6 and has to be the favorite, considering she's so good in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and what you just said is true. The fact that she's so good at Las Vegas, if she stumbled a little at Las Vegas, I think if you're within 80 points going into Pomona, you've got a realistic chance, because she doesn't lose second round often. But I think if you go to Pomona counting on her losing first round, that happens like never. Second round doesn't happen often, but second round is always a big matchup, no matter where you qualify. So if you're close enough that you could capitalize with a second round out for Erica, then I think you go to Pomona at least with a little bit of hope. If she goes into Pomona 100 points up, then it's not going to be over, but the proverbial fat lady is certainly going to be warming up somewhere.
Yeah, it's interesting the way Pro Stock can get kicked wide open. Pro Stock Motorcycle, on the other hand, and I'm building up to Nitro, of course. Everybody is out there sharing the show, and I appreciate it, but it's the Gaige Herrera show, and we knew this. Gaige Herrera goes out and obliterates the record book and acknowledge in the media center that he believes, and for all I know, because I've been catatonic for the last 12 hours, it has already happened, but he's expecting rules changes. He's expecting weight on the bike. He's expecting something after that performance, but he said flat out that Andrew Hines wanted to go for it, right? And they went for it and they got it. Gaige and Eddie in the final round. Once again, Gaige Herrera gets it done, and his points lead now is 156 points over Eddie Krawiec. Now is the time to start engraving and shining up the trophy. The only reason Gaige Herrera is not winning the championship is if he can't make it to these races for some reason, like Eddie locks him in a closet, or, he's got to go somewhere in a far off distant land. But Gaige Herrera has got the field covered. Not showing up would be the reason he doesn't win the championship.
Yeah. And, I'm glad I'm not in the NHRA tech department or on the rules committee, because you're faced with a difficult thing right now. Do you need to change the rules because Gaige is so fast? It would appear. But you can't make a rule just for Gaige. You can't say, okay, Gaige, put an extra 100 pounds on your bike and everybody else is status quo. What NHRA has always done, what has always been policy, and what I'm sure is still going to be going forward, is you look at the combination. And it's the same whether you're talking about stock or super stock, or when we were doing CIC stuff, nationwide CIC and comp. It's the combination that matters. So if you go say, okay, look, we need to add X pounds to the Suzukis. Well, okay, you've slowed Gaige down a little bit. You've also slowed Matt down a little bit. You've slowed the Alligator bikes down a little bit. You've slowed Kelly Klontz down a little bit. You've slowed everybody on a Suzuki down a little bit. So who is in position now to take advantage of that going forward? Is Matt Smith going to go back to the Buell? He said he wouldn't. He said he did it the one race because that was what he had to do after having some issues on the dyno. So I don't know. I don't know how you make that decision with one bike running so much faster than everybody. In Pro Stock, if Erica was a 10th out in front of the field, would you say, okay, all the Chevrolets have to have some kind of an advantage because she's fast? That's difficult to do. When the Vance and Hines team were running the Harleys, if they were a 10th out in front of the field, you could easily make a deal and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to adjust all of the Harleys. Anytime Matt has gotten a big advantage on the field, what have they done? We are going to make an adjustment for all the Buells, not just for Matt, but for all the Buells. And so now I don't know how you would make it. I don't know how you would make any kind of adjustment that wouldn't affect all the Suzukis. And then, does it really make any difference at that point? Because all you've done, you've slowed everybody down. You haven't brought Gaige back to the field any more than, you've slowed the field down as well. Everybody, obviously, except for the V-Twins.
Right. Well, as I understand it, and this is only because Gaige addressed it in the media center after it was all over, is that a couple of races back, they split the 4-valve cylinder heads between the Vance and Hines and the Monstar cylinder head. And so now they can make parity adjustments just to the Vance and Hines cylinder head. We saw Kelly Klontz run her best ever and outrun Eddie Krawick and outrun Andrew Hines' best ETs ever, which is pretty amazing. Gaige tested that bike on Wednesday and helped her with her confidence and helped her with some positioning of like clutch and throttle, and it showed up immediately on the track. So I think they would just make a parity adjustment to the Vance and Hines 4-valve cylinder head, but that's going to slow down Kelly and slow down Eddie and slow down the White Alligator bikes. Everyone who's got the Vance and Hines head, the Monstar head will still pick up. Hector Arana told me he's at the lightest he can be, that he's got no weight in the bike. That's it. That's as light as they can go. So whatever parity adjustment would have to happen for Hector, who went 72, his career best, like, you're not going to back Gaige up to that. It's a 10th. So it's a great challenge. But then again, should you? Gaige is obviously a superior rider. He's, Kelly ran a 70. Eddie ran a 69. That's 700ths behind Gaige. So I don't know. I agree with you, Alan. I think that the rules makers are going to show their talent and ability with what they choose to do, which maybe nothing. Who knows?
I mean, I guess time will tell. If I'm Byron, I'm buying a monster cylinder head. Why not? Let me bring one into the shop and take a look at it. Can I do with that what I've done with my stuff? And then what? Byron Hines for 40 years has had just the mechanical ability with motorcycle engines of all types, all designs, all everything, just some kind of magical touch to be able to make power. He did it with Suzuki's, he did it with Kawasaki's back in the day. He did it with Ducatis on the road course. He did it with the Yamahas for so many years. When they took on the Harley program, that was built from scratch. Took a little time to get there, but he ended up dominating stuff there. When they go back to 4-valve Suzuki, Byron Hines is just whatever it is, motorcycle-wise, the guy's brilliant. And I honestly think if I'm him and they say, okay, the Vance and Hines cylinder head gets penalized, I'm going to go, all right, let me buy one of the monster heads, because 4-valve is 4-valve, right? And if it's billet, wouldn't you think you could do the same thing with both of them? So I don't know. I think I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad I'm not in the NHRA Tech Division or the Rules Committee trying to figure out what's the thing to do here. Do you want to see one brand run away and just crush everybody and have no competition? No, obviously you don't. But if there's one bike that for whatever reason, whether it's the rider, whether it's just a combination, whether it's just that thing's sweet right now, there was a long time when Matt was the quickest Buell out there by maybe not a tenth, but certainly there was times when he was 400 or 500ths in front of the field. And if they had to make an adjustment, they had to make an adjustment to all the Buells simply because Matt's ability to work on the bike and find horsepower, and simply because of Matt's ability as a rider to get the thing down the racetrack. So it's difficult. It's difficult when you have one person that's running away when they do have like equipment with so many other people that are in the field.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Hey, since we're talking about the rules makers, I want to ask you your opinion as best as you can give it about a topic that I know nothing about. But we've had a couple of riders hit the concrete or hit the asphalt over the past couple of races. And, we are all thrilled that Angie is out there recovering, but Chase Van Zandt touched his knee to the track in a bizarre, just bad timing situation as he was leaning, trying to keep it off the wall. And it basically just wiped the leather, like a millisecond touching the track, wiped the leather right off of his knee and the skin, etc. He's going to need skin grafts. Spoke with Chase on the starting line. I had a very interesting conversation with Chris Bostic. And, I know from watching MotoGP that there's a lot of other things that can happen with leathers. Chris Bostic has got these like plastic shields up here that some riders don't have. Chris Bostic explained to me that his leathers are not made of like cow hide. They're actually made of kangaroo hide. And the kangaroo hide is 7 times more resistant to scuffing and skidding. And there's things that have tested. And he's even got a system that he's employed that's a MotoGP system that's an airbag in there. My point is this. Hey, is there something we should be looking at in these leathers because drag racers are always going to want the minimal thing. No, we know that. They're going to want the minimal thing. Corey Reed, Joey Gladstone, Angie Smith, Chase Van Zandt. Is there something that maybe we should be looking at in the form of leathers and safety for our riders? Because MotoGP guys are sliding down the racetrack all the time, and they just get back up and get back on their bike.
Well, when it comes to the safety aspect, things are always being looked at. And, it had been a long time since we had had an incident like Angie's. And yes, I know Corey Reed came off the bike and Corey Reed tore up his foot. But as far as, tearing up his skin and to my recollection, it wasn't anywhere near like what Angie is. Gianna twice has come off the bike at speed. I remember wasn't it Chicago a couple of years ago. And what did she do? She got up and she's just mad because her bike was wrecked. So I don't know that until very recently there was this glaring deficiency as far as the safety goes, because the incidents that we have had been pretty few and far between, and we hadn't seen this type of end result from it. After Angie's, I guarantee you, all of the rules makers and the safety equipment manufacturers were going, okay, we need to see, what do we do now? Is there something we can go to? Just like with any incident that happens in NHRA, they look at what happened, what worked, what didn't work. Is there maybe a rule? Is there a technical thing? Is there a construction thing we can do with a car? Is there something to make this a less likelihood of happening in the future, especially if somebody gets hurt? After Chase's thing, I think, again, it's like, okay, now look, this has happened a couple of times. We really need to go further. Does it mean some extra padding or some extra shielding like Chris was talking? I don't know that. And I'm certainly not claiming to be a safety expert. But anytime there's ever been somebody getting hurt, or even an incident where somebody didn't get hurt, NHRA takes a very close look at that and says, is there something we could be doing better? And I promise you right now, they're doing exactly that.
Yeah, it's just, something. If like Bostic was showing me where the seams are, he's got a seam right on his kneecap. He's got all these different things in his leathers that are designed for that horrible moment that we never want to see. And Angel is out there saying that we should have parachutes on them. I have talked to many riders, and 90% disagree with that. Can you imagine a rider getting tangled up in the chute as the bike is going down the track if they're off the bike? Like, I think that is, now that we've gone to where we are, having seen a couple of things, I don't know that that's a good idea. But again, like Alan said, right? There are safety experts for a reason. They are experts. We're just bringing up a conversation, though. Just because we're not experts doesn't mean we're not allowed to bring up a topic and consider it without, speculating.
The parachute thing is kind of interesting, I think, because if you put a parachute on the motorcycle like they have on the Top Fuel motorcycles, would that have made any difference whatsoever in Angie's case?
No.
Once she's off the bike, she's off the bike. It doesn't matter. In boat racing, for the faster open boats for a number of years, the driver would have a personal parachute that was on his back. And if he got thrown out of the boat, that parachute would deploy. And the objective was to try to slow him down or her and get them pointed feet first. So when they would go in the water, they would go in instead of tumbling and round, because when you hit the water at high speed, and those things, I believe, prevented many more severe injuries over the years before all the faster boats ended up being in capsules and the safety evolved to what it is right now in those boats. But if you put a parachute, if you put a personal parachute on the back of a pro stock motorcycle rider, that if they become separated from the bike, the parachute is going to deploy to slow them down. I think that could be a great thing if it worked. But I also think that there would be times that you'd have a malfunction and the rider would be at 202 or 3 or 5 miles an hour down here and just get yanked straight off the bike for no reason, because those things do malfunction from time to time. And I don't know, personally, I don't think that the trade-off would be a good gamble. If it was up to me, if they told me, okay, you're riding a motorcycle, here's the deal, here's the piece of safety equipment that in some instances could be your best friend, but if it malfunctioned, it could be your worst enemy. Do you want it? My answer would be no.
Yeah. They have the personal parachute on the back of the rider. We could all see a moment where, and they're up in the air.
But in a situation like
funny.
Angie's, when she came off the bike, if it stopped her in half the time, or at
Yep.
least slowed her down, that would be huge. But how often is it going to save somebody versus what's the potential of how often that it could hurt somebody?
Right. Well, exactly. I just hope that, we focus in on these things when they happen from time to time, and we're thinking about it more. And are we doing all we can do? That's all. That's the conversation. Are we doing all we can do? And maybe there's something extra we can do, like those titanium skid pads and all those different things. And well, yes, it'll add weight to the bike and the rider combination. And that's not, but we're trying to slow them down a little bit anyway. I don't know. I think it's just a worthwhile conversation to have. We all lived through the Dale Earnhardt situation where there were things happening and they were happening more often. And then they got to an unacceptable moment. And then we refocused our energy. This is NASCAR stuff with safer barriers and Hans devices. And I don't want to say we solved the problem. It's motorsports. The problem is never solved. But the likelihood of that stuff went down dramatically. If only we had that conversation prior to, as opposed to after, what would have been different. I'll leave it to the Pro Stock Motorcycle experts, but hopefully they are thinking about it and talking about it. Let's talk funny car, where, wow, what a race. Through qualifying, it was just triple throwdown, to quote Antron Brown, the big four. But come race day, the big four were unable to convert. I was expecting a final four of super racers, but early in the going, Ron Capps smokes the tires. First round was going to be a Capps Hagan second round. Instead, it's Hagan, Alex Laughlin. Hagan takes out Laughlin. In the second round, it's Bob Tasca and Tim Wilkerson. And Wilk takes down Tasca with an 866, 3866 to go to the semifinals against Hagan. The other side of the ladder is John Force and J.R. Todd. Force takes down J.R. Todd. Force goes to the final round. Matt Hagan wins, and the points lead belongs to Matt Hagan by 36 over Bob Tasca, by 69 over Robert Height, by 99 over Ron Capps. And those are the only four racers that have got a shot at the title. Everybody else is out. I'm saying it.
Well, you look at the first round, and the big four in qualifying had four of the top five spots. The outlier was John Force being the second qualifier, running his career best numbers, and he had a great car. That wasn't a one-run fluke deal that they ran on Friday night or whatever. Actually, it was Saturday night. They had a great car. But the big four took four of the top five. And then in round one, Robert was out. Ron was out. And let's be honest, Bob should have been. I mean,
yes,
Bob smoked the tires through the middle, went 427. He was fortunate that as the number one qualifier, he had Jack Wyatt in round number one, and Jack had problems and shut off, or Matt Hagan would have been the last man standing. So then once Bob Tasca went down in round number two, the door's wide open for Matt Hagan, and they took advantage of it. But, I think you go back 3 races ago or 3 weeks ago and look at the show, Matt Hagan has had the best car. He has had the best car. He lost a race in Reading by 1/10,000th of a second. That easily could go the other way. He lost a race in Charlotte by 1/1000th of a second. That easily could have gone the other way. And then what's he done the last 2 weeks? He's left with a trophy. Matt Hagan right now has the best car in funny car. And unless somebody can figure out how to slow him down on a more regular basis than just winning by a 10,000th or winning by 1,000th, I think that he's in the best position right now.
Well, you can't miss opportunities. Championships swing on moments like that. And Capps told us a couple of weeks ago that, the championships, or maybe it was in our Big Champions dinner interview, which was an amazing moment, but that he's looked back at his championships, and Dallas has always factored in like, oh, something big happened in Dallas. If Tasca wins the championship, maybe it's that first round where he slid through against Jack Wyatt, even though he went up on smoke. Like, you can look at it in any way you want, but we'll see. That having been said, at the start of the season, someone who is on one of the teams told me, watch out for Dickie and his guys, because they got everybody back and they are highly motivated. No turnover, no new crew members, same team, ready to go after it. And here we are, however many races later, and they are in the driver's seat, looking well, going to Vegas and Pomona.
Yep. I agree. I think we'd be remiss also if we didn't take a moment to talk about Dale Creasy and Dave Richards, who had a very, very scary moment on Friday in qualifying when the two funny cars got together at a fairly high rate of speed. Tore up a lot of equipment. Fortunately, didn't tear up either one of the drivers. They, I spoke to Dale. He said this was their last race of the year anyway. They had already had an appointment to take the car in, have it front half, have it freshened up for next season. Now that's going to turn into, okay, we're going to have a new chassis built and get ready for next season. Dave Richards, I know, is in rebuild mode as well, although I wasn't able to track him down to talk to him. But it was very good to see both of them get out and walk away after that pretty scary incident on Friday in qualifying. So grateful that time that all the safety stuff and everything did. And for those that, I know that there was at least some internet chatter about it. Yes, NHRA impounded both those cars after the incident. And they took them to a storage room or tech building on the property there at the Texas Motorplex and went over them. I believe they were both returned to the teams on Sunday. But, as they always do when there is an incident like that, NHRA did impound the cars. They went back to look over what worked. Obviously, both drivers walked away, so the stuff worked. But is there anything that could be done better? Is there a rule that needs to be changed? Is there an adjustment could be made? Is there something? So they went back. They took the time to go over the cars and then return them to the competitors. So hopefully, something is learned from that. I'm grateful that time, all of the safety stuff appears that it did do what it was supposed to do, and we go forward.
Yeah, I spoke with Randy Glady from Skag, who is out there and has become a fixture on the starting line. And you're starting to see Skag on more and more cars, including Erica's, but Versatran helping out Dave Richards. And that is another one of Randy's companies. And Randy and I had a great conversation. And he said that, I guess it was Friday night, he went over to Dave and said something, like this is what he told me. And I assume he knows it's on the record in that moment that they're going to help him get back on track with something more modern, because that was an older chassis, and something that will be more competitive. And so this is not the last you've seen of Dave Richards and Versatran. And Randy said it was important to him. He goes, I wanted them to go to bed that night knowing that their program is not only going to continue, but it's going to get better, because they had invested so much in the sport just being here. Like the Richards family, they would run once or twice a year. And so all of their crew were like volunteers who didn't do it very much. And Randy had brought them out with Versatran to get that muscle memory going. Like, you're never going to compete if you race once or twice a year. You're just not. You don't have the right guys. They don't know what they're doing. They don't do it enough. It's just not going to happen unless you get like super lucky and just get one of those lucky days. And so Randy Glady
have you heard of Trip Tatum or TJ Zizzo or Kyle Wurzel or some of those other part-time guys that come out here and just give big headaches to the guys?
The guys on Trip Tatum's car were all stars and world champions that have been helping other guys. And that Zizzo's guys, they run 8 or 9 a year. It's not comparable, but I get what you're saying, but still not comparable. Zizzo hasn't won a race. Trip Tatum won a race with the Bobby Lagana All-Stars. But that having been said, Randy Glady says that the Versatran car is going to be back out there next year and that they're going to do what they got to do to keep them on the track. So that is good. Point standings, though. The big four, right? John Force. I want to tip the cap to John Force also. How about Force? This guy, people are constantly, hounding him. Half the people are saying run forever. And other people are saying, John, you're 74 years old, whatever. John Force had himself a good day at the office and that car's been going down the track, up in smoke in the final round out of the right lane. But, 16th time, had himself a really good day out there.
He did. And, he blew the thing up big in the semifinals. So after their mad thrash to get it back and turned around for the final, but he had a good day. He ran his career best numbers. We saw the quickest numbers run in the laid-back header era, or in the non-laid-back header era all weekend. And John had a good car on race day. I mean, they rolled out their first round when, the big four, the high-powered cars were smoking the tires, and he went, if I'm not mistaken, he went 384. And I remember I'm sitting up in the announcer's booth going, wow, okay, if that's out there, what the heck happened to the other cars that weren't able to go out and do that? And then Danny came back and made another good run with the car. Because Gucci, of course, Danny Hood came back and made another good run with the car in the semis. And then after the thing blew up in the second round, after it blew up in the semis, they did the mad thrash and ended up smoking the tires in the final.
Yeah, I had asked to a couple of people out there, just for an opinion. I asked Kurt Johnson, who is now doing a bit at the Nitro stage called The Science of the Starting Line with Jason Galvin, which is very popular. It's going really good. But I asked Kurt, and he said, you know what, man? These guys are just laying into it. Like they're giving it everything and slightly stepping over the line, right? The smoke was coming way down the track.
For most of them, yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like when you got 11,000 horsepower, even the best track and conditions can be overpowered if you're going for it, right? If you're laying into it, as opposed to trying to get down. But how cool was that? Just before we move to Top Fuel, we talk about there should be different races in the countdown, much like NASCAR. They've added road courses into their playoff, and that adds an element. I think it's good that there is a race, and we can't control it, where the track can take everything, right? Where it's a throwdown race as opposed to a management race. Like, oh, it's really hot. And in St. Louis, they had to manage the conditions and work the track and deal with the situation. Whereas this was not that. This was a throwdown race where they can like let it all hang out, and whatever you think you can do, you can try to do it. Very entertaining. The fact that it was different than the previous races.
Joe, I'm all for that. If you can make sure the weather's the same next year.
Well, I think with the Stampede of Speed, that's the next thing. They're working on a weather machine at the Texas Motorplex so that we can always have that kind of weather. Don't put it past Billy and Chris.
Yeah, get us an umbrella so we can keep the track temp where it needs to be in case it's, one of those sweltering Texas days. And then we're going to need to have the place air conditioned in case, again, if it's one of those sweltering days where the humidity's way up. And if you can make all that stuff happen, that's great.
Don't challenge the Meyer family. They'll dome that thing. It'll be like Jerry's World, except the drag strip. All right, let's talk Top Fuel. What a day, what a weekend. Steve Torrence gets his groove back, swagger back, track record, wins the Battle of the Saddle, has this amazing moment where he's addressing the crowd, goes out there, number one qualifier, takes down Buddy Hull. Buddy Hull, by the way, career best by a long shot. He and Steve. That's what you want to see. 324, 373, Buddy Hull, best run ever, but loses to a 366. They got a new car coming. Steve runs Antron in the second round, takes down Antron, runs Billy. I listen. Hey, Capco, I'm sorry. I thought that maybe there was no way that it would be dumb if Billy beats Steve with Doug out. Like Billy beats Steve, that would just be dumb. Why would you do that? 7th thou. You cannot orchestrate a 7th thou victory. That is not something you're planning. Okay. And if you're trying to orchestrate the outcome of the race, you shouldn't cut it so close that it could be a 7th thou race. So no, they raced. Billy Torrence raced. I think it was you who said the story about Billy saying, hey man, I spent a lot of money out here to do this. I'm not laying down to anybody, including my kid who he loves to whip. And, just came 7th thou short. Steve gets to the final round. Meanwhile, Leah, this team has been surging. She takes down Langdon in the first round. He goes up in smoke, would have had to run a 67. She's off the line real well. Takes down Doug in the second round. The points leader is out. The sun starts to shine. Okay. Yes. Those points.
She beat him last week.
Very valuable. Takes down Clay, a rematch of the previous final round. And then goes to the final round against Steve off the starting line first and beats Steve on a hole shot and takes over the points lead and gets the first Tony Stewart Nitro double. So all kinds of history going on. We're working on getting Leah and Matt on WFO later in the week, but she said it was the most significant win of her career. Like this race has now taken over the most significant win of her career, more so than her first ever win, because of what they did and what they're doing and the context around this victory for Leah Pruett and Tony Stewart Racing.
Let me ask you this, and we'll start with the Capco race. What do you think the Texas fans would have thought of Billy and Steve, two, like, we're badass swagger Texans, if one of them dove in a race? I don't care who's in the other lane. What do you think the Texas fans would have thought about those two not racing?
Well, anybody that believes the ends justified the means would have thought that they were smart and would have wanted their guy as the world champion. others who are like prideful and, don't believe in that stuff, they would have been against it. But I think that split is probably 50-50.
You know what? Maybe I'm crazy. I thought they were going to race from the get-go. I said that before. And I firmly believe that the Texas fans would have booed their home team if they hadn't raced for it. And I also think that Billy, spends a lot of money, doesn't get to do this a lot, but he is not coming out here to not make a race out of it, to not try to do his best to win the race. Did it turn out the way they wanted? Yes. Did they put on a great show for the fans? Yes. Do they have to now go back? Can you imagine Billy going up in his Capco suite after the race and having to tell everybody, well, I didn't really try very hard, or I gave the kid that one, and explaining that to the people that he expects to put in 100% all the time when they come to work for him and when they go out to do this. I can't imagine that. And I believe the Texas fans would have booed him just like they would have booed anybody else that went into the tank out there, obviously, when there's something on the line, because they pay hard-earned money to come out here and watch good side-by-side drag racing, and we deserve to put on that show for them, no matter what names are on the side of the car. I applaud the Capco boys for doing that, and I don't think it's in their nature to not do that. When Steve was going for the sweep, he raced Billy, if I'm not mistaken, twice in the 6-race series.
Yes, and Billy tried to beat him.
That was two of the closest races that he had, because Billy was the most likely guy to end the sweep, and he damn near did it. And I really believe that that's just the way those guys race. And I think if it comes down to Pomona, final round, and Steve needs this to win the championship and Billy's in the other lane, I don't think they're going in the tank then either.
The evidence that we got this past weekend suggests that they wouldn't. But, it's like we saw what they did on the track, and their words or their actions are more important than any words. 7th thou on the track. Billy gave Steve all he could really handle. Steve missed the tree. You look at it, you look at the lights. Steve is 96, Billy is 85. So Billy is 77, Steve is loaded up, and we're all like, what? But in the end, Steve's got to run Leah. Leah wins on a hole shot, and now Leah is the points leader by 4 points over Doug Coletta, by 13 over Steve Torrence. So that is a 3-horse race, I think. Justin Ashley 108 back. Does Justin Ashley still have a chance at the championship?
No. And simply because he's got 3 people in front of him. If he's chasing one person, he's 108 back, then I think, yes, you've got a chance. But I don't think all 3 of those, and it's not like, he's 108 back, but only 4 points out of third and only 8 points out of second. He's 100 back from basically everybody. And I just don't see all 3 of those. I just don't see all 3 of them falling over. I think that, we'll see where it goes going down the line, but I really think it comes down to those.
It would be a random act of the racing gods. If we're playing a poker game and they're putting the percentages up based on the cards, their percentage is low.
I wonder how many people knew, and I didn't say it purposely because I wanted to wait until after the race was over to drop the news, but I wonder how many people knew that the winner of that final round would be the point leader. If Steve beats Leah in the final, he is the point leader. Doug wasn't going to be no matter what. He was going to end up in second, but there was that kind of pressure on the line for both of those. And, Leah and her team rose to the occasion. And I guarantee you that's eating at Steve right now. And he's going to go into Vegas with a chip on his shoulder. And that's not good news for anybody else in a top fuel car right now.
Yeah. Well, the best news is for us, the fans who sit on like you have 3 dynamic personalities. And, if Justin can win out, the points will fall where they may, and it will be a very dramatic ending. But Alan, you're right. Like Doug Coletta, Leah, and Steve would have to stumble, each early in one of these last 2 races to make that possible. But that could happen. These are nitro cars. It just seems unlikely.
The key when we get to Vegas is going to be who wins the Leah-Doug matchup, because that's been the key.
Right.
All 4 countdown races so far, Leah and Doug have gone head-to-head. And the winner of that head-to-head matchup, which has happened early in the day all 4 times, 3 of the 4 times has won the race. And the 4th time was runner-up. So when those two go head to head in Vegas, and they have to because I've got it in the script, the key will be who wins that race. The two races that Doug won to start the countdown to the championship, he beat Leah earlier in the day to do it. And the last two races, Leah has beat Doug in the second round. She went to the final in St. Louis, and she went to the winner's circle here. So keep your eyes on which side of the ladder those two end up on. If they end up on opposite sides, I guess it's a foregone conclusion they race in the final, because they're going to race head to head all 6 times in the countdown to the championship. I've got it scripted.
Well, let's do it. If that's what you've got scripted, well, all for that. But anyway, entertainment value through the roof. If you're not into this, and I'm not scolding any WFO listeners, because if you're watching and listening to this show, you love this stuff. That's why you're here. You love this stuff. You've already separated yourself from the casual observer into the diehard fan who really cares and is out here tracking all the movements and following all the storylines. But my goodness, how could it get much better? 3 totally dynamic personalities. Steve and Leah have had a little rivalry in the past. Doug is this guy, a heartfelt, person that everybody loves and wants to see him get his championship. But like Steve said, not against me. Like I'm not, that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to win championships. Go win it, but not against me. And so we'll have to see. Alan Johnson. It's just so awesome what we're experiencing. And the other parties involved, the Antron Browns and the Justin Ashleys and the Mike Salinases and the Clay Millikins, they're amazing. Brittany Force, I want to ask about that. They won the championship last year. If this was stick and ball sports, and it's not, because we treat our racers with an extra level of respect, because we can't even do what they're doing, and there's nobody right behind them to just step up into their role like it is with a head coach in an NFL team or something. But this has been a very tough title defense for Brittany, and I don't know what to say. 8th in the points, they're just having a nightmare title defense. They got to get a win before this year is over. They got to get one.
And, they've got 2 shots left at it, I think. And David Grubnick early in the year, Brittany's crew chief, was very upfront about the fact that he felt a number of the other teams were closing in on them from a performance standpoint, and that he needed to do something to try to get ahead. Didn't Richard Hagan have that same philosophy a couple of years ago after they'd won championships? And he said, if I keep doing this, they're going to pass me. And he spent a year, longer than he thought it was going to take, trying to find a new combination. David, I think, same thing. He said, I need to do something. I need to find the next thing that'll put me a little bit out in front of the rest of these guys. And it didn't come together nearly as quick as he wanted it to. And at some point, I think you get deep enough into the season that you go, you know what? If I really, truly believe in this, then I just decide I'm not winning the championship this year. Let's get this figured out, so that when we come back in 2024, we will be ready to dive back in and compete. And I haven't spoken to him, but I have a feeling that that's kind of the where he's at right now. He realizes that this championship isn't going to happen. So now I've devoted this much time, this much energy, these resources, because I truly believe I have a better mousetrap on the horizon. At this point, I'm going to keep chasing that. I'm going to get that figured out. And then when we come back next year, start all over even, that I'll be ready to go out there and run with and in front of these guys and gals.
Yeah, it's interesting. And that is a debate or an issue. It happens in all sports, right? Are we rebuilding? Are we making a championship run? Are we one player away? What's going on? When do we make that call? They changed the chemistry of that team this year. Max Savage is now on John Force's car. There's a lot that went on there, and I guess we'll only know in 5 years, right? Depending on the results of next year and the results of the year after. If they go on and win the championship next year, then yeah, it was worth it. Winning any one championship, the way I look at it in stick and ball sports, if you can win a championship every decade, every 10 years, that's good. That's success. More than that, greater success. Less than that, like the New York Yankees, failure, and you got to do something different. So we'll see how that all works out. All right. So the Camping World Series in the books, 2 races to go. Going to be super exciting. Let's talk about Lucas Oil champions, Doug, Gordon, and Julie Nataas. Wow. What amazing moments. So glad we were ready for them, Alan. Totally ready. for those championships to be decided.
Joe's getting a little behind the scenes stuff here. No, I think, for Julie, it certainly wasn't a shock, right? Randy's won, 4 out of the last 5. Joey Severance got in and got the championship last year, but Randy has been running his program at a championship level for a number of years, and they came through again this year. There's still quite a battle going on for second place, but the fact that she locked it up and then went on and won the race, I thought the real interesting story on the funny car side of things was, Doug won it because Christine Foster had a mechanical failure because he blew the thing up on the semifinal run and would have been beat there. So he would have had to, I guess, wait a week or something to lock the thing up. But then going into the final, the fact that all of Bartone's guys came over and pitched in because they were on a quick turnaround, with the Sunday window that they've got to do to get that thing back together for the final so he could come up and race. I thought that was a great, little microcosm of the camaraderie that goes on out there, week in, week out, right on the starting line. You're whatever it takes to beat this guy, whatever it takes to beat this guy, whatever it takes to beat this guy. And then you get to the point where my arch rival's in trouble. Whatever it takes to help this guy. Let's make sure we get him back on the track so that he can get out there and at least race for it in the final round. I thought that was cool. I guarantee you the Gordons would return the favor anytime it was needed going on the other side of the fence. But it was cool, I think, for both champions, not only to lock them up, but to go on and win the race. So at the end of the day, you're not, I'm really happy about, except for that one thing. So congratulations to both. I think they're very, very deserving. Looking at what they've done, the commitment that they've put in, and what they've done over the years, I think both are very deserving.
Kind of interesting, Doug, his final season, he's going to go off and help Maddie. Maddie's going to be in the car, and that's amazing that she gets to take over that car, and I have no doubt she's going to be great. And Julie, it's her final season. She said it. She said it at the beginning of the season that it's championship or bust, like up or out. Right? Like, this is the final year doing this. I'm going to get myself a world championship or I'm going to stop. And I want a Top Fuel or Nitro funny car ride. I've shown that I'm marketable. I've shown that I'm a solid driver under pressure. And she went out and won the championship. So we'll see where that goes. Hopefully there's a ride in her future where she wants. Hopefully the sport is getting to the point where that is the case, where a super talented, but not personally wealthy person is selected to be a driver on a team for the purpose of talent, right? Like, she's got all the tools. She's proven it. So we'll see if we're there.
And we'll find out. Right now, I don't know of a Top Fuel team that's necessarily looking for a driver, but having a resume in hand and having a championship on that resume certainly moves her stock up a little bit, and hopefully something will come together. I'd love to see another talented female out there duking it out in the Top Fuel world.
Yeah, exactly. Great stuff. Mentioned the Jegs All-Stars, all the race winners from the weekend, just great stories. Factory Showdown had a chance to solidify their championship. Lenny Lottig knocked out Aaron Stanfield, went on to have success and prolonged that inevitable. Jim Greenhack wins Comp Eliminator, keeps the Comp Eliminator World Championship, at least in question. Tyler Wlodarczyk, Superstock. Jerry Ammons gets it done in his home state. Erica said that motivated her. What's that?
That was actually the 50th win for the Emmons family. 5-0. Yeah, incredible. Pretty impressive stuff. Almost, 19th for him, 50th for the family.
Almost as many wins as they have race cars.
No, not even close.
Their pit area.
My computer just went dark, so I gotta do this before.
No, I can still hear you. You still look good, still sound good. But yeah, you go by the Emmons pit, all that new asphalt at the Texas Motorplex, and they took up most of it with their pit area. But Mike Holcomb wins in Super Comp, Trevor Larson Super Gas, Donnie Dernberger, Donnie does a great job. Donnie's a friend of WFO. Wins in Super Street. Kurt Frederick, Top Sportsman. Lenny Lottig in Showdown. And the Jegs All-Stars, Art Hoover, Brandon Miller, who had a chance at 2 in the Jegs All-Stars. Chase Williams. How about the year that Chase Williams has had in Comp Eliminator? Yeah. Like, that is getting paid. He won the Brogdon 100,000. He won the U.S. Nationals. This guy wins the Jegs All-Stars. Like, that's a mic drop season.
Yeah, he beat my guy in the final of comp. We could have won it by even more. So, Chase, not a fan.
Not a fan. Dean Hall
Okay,
in Top Sportsman.
I'm a little bit of a fan.
You're allowed to be a fan. We could hear you hooting and hollering in the background. I was leaving the mic open so that people could hear the emotion coming out of race control and all the division directors going crazy.
That's
said
the one race a year going back when I got started with this. And it used to be originally it was in Columbus. And then when it moved to Chicago, the divisions almost always would have somebody there for their team. Like Lewis always came in from Division 1. Leah was always there from Division 3. Lynn a number of times came up from Division 4, or Bob Unkefer did, and Bob took care of Division 5 as well. And then I would be the West Coast guy, and Fry would be there. And we all were encouraged to root for, to be on, to this is your team. You don't have to just be the neutral reporter all the time. And so the opportunity for us to win it. I don't know did anybody see this yet?
Yes.
Did anybody see this yet?
Yes, that's from 2019.
Sure everybody gets to see this.
Did you guys win?
Yeah, well, I got it out of the closet. But the point is, we get a chance to be on and root for and pull for our team one time a year, and my team won it. I was not going to be shy about being happy about that.
No, you shouldn't be. And congratulations. Like, didn't you give them like a pre-race pep talk? Like, did I see that?
Well, were you there for driver intros when I said, and now let me introduce you to the championship winning team?
I did not notice that. Did you say that?
That was my open. Yes, I did.
Great job. Like, it worked. It worked. Now, we had so much fun, guys. Like, everybody out there watching, this was super fun for us and for the racers, like the whole Jegs All-Stars at the Stampede of Speed. Tremendous success. Can't wait to do it again next year. Final thought, Alan, anything that stuck out in your mind that I'm not remembering? Of course, I'm going to talk about the drone show and all the different associated stuff that happened with the Stampede of Speed before the NHRA team got there. But, give us the final thought on the weekend.
Well, I think we've pretty much covered everything. The one thing that didn't quite hit the radar yet that I think bears mentioning is the annual draw auction that takes place in the Champions Club. That took place on Saturday night. We still had some sportsman activity going on the racetrack, and I don't know how you fix that, but that's one thing that I wish we didn't have to do, because a lot of the sportsman racers are supporters of draw, and they would come over and support and donate and be part of it. I certainly understand the logistics. There's only so many hours in the day, and there's only so much stuff you can do. It was still a pretty successful event. Brian Lones and I acting as the auctioneers to get that taken care of and raise a whole lot of money for a great cause. So that's, I think, the one thing we didn't touch on. And the only other thing is I'm home for the first time this weekend since Topeka, and I am supposed to get my Mustang back this week. If I get it back in time, I'm still hoping to make to the In-N-Out Burger birthday party this weekend. So
nice.
I may not be home this weekend.
You're going to drive all the way up to Pomona with the car. That's great.
Oh, hell no. I'm going to put it in a trailer.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, that's a long drive, Alan. But, well, great job. I had a great time at the Motorplex. It was awesome. Enjoy your weekend home, whatever you choose to do. I am ready for the Stampede of Sleep is what I'm going to do this weekend, and hang out with the cats. All right, Alan, great job.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Enjoy your week.
Baby. We'll see you in Vegas. We'll talk next week, of course. There he goes. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us each week right here on WFO Radio. Put your comments in the comment section, guys, like things that happened. I was very active on the social media, and we're going to be talking about the Stampede of Speed leading up, and I want to get your take. Could you feel the energy through your NHRA.TV, through NHRA on Fox, of what a significant event this was? The race of the century for the Texas Motorplex. Their largest attended race since the mid-90s. And I'm not talking about all the stuff that happened before the Fall Nationals. I'm talking about the Fall Nationals. Friday, the Friday Night Live, that amazing Battle of the Saddle and Quadra allows them to do a shopping spree thanks to the track, right? Like drivers who were low of the session, a race within a race, if you will. Derek Kramer gets to go shopping for boots, and the track is paying for it. Amazing. We had our Patreon meetup. It was amazing. People coming in, Dave and Sue Morris from South Carolina, from all over, from Alberta, Canada, to be a part of the Stampede of Speed. I was in Texas for 12 days. staying in Waxahachie, was a part of the cattle drive, was a part of the concert Stars of Texas, introducing bands, having a good time, the Lantern Fest. We'll talk about all that, or I'll give you my story. But first, I want to tell you about Marvin Rodak, who was out there. And Marvin Rodak, for you keen-eyed observers, you probably saw the Rodak's logo on Camry Caruso's machine. And Marvin Rodak has known he was going to be on Camry Caruso's car since early in the year at the Texas Motorplex. I don't think he knew he was going to be a part of their breast cancer awareness unveiling and all the associated. He was going to be on the side of a car that Gavin Malouf was part of the entourage, right? It was great for Marvin Rodak. Now, we had a meetup at rodakscoffeeandgrills.com. I couldn't, for the life of me, tell you when it was. Like, it was early in the week. It was Tuesday, but WFO Patreons went out to Rodak's, and we all enjoyed a little Rodak's coffee. And he has made this Stampede of Speed blend. Some of his best coffee blended together with purpose, and you can enjoy the flavor of the Stampede of Speed through Rodak's 817-924-6821. I certainly enjoyed it and had a great time. It was awesome. Speaking of the Patreon meetup, we had Patreons joining up. Here is one of the many meetups, a group photo. Bobby Graham was out there, and Dave and Sue Morris and Marvin Rodak and Jolie Stanfield and just everybody out there getting together. And that was just one of several meetups that we had as best as we could in between all the different action, hanging out in that top end grandstand. Perfect place to watch racing. Big moments. This is after the drone show, the party on the track Friday night. Everybody came down. It was just a mass of humanity. The drone show, the historic first ever drone show in drag racing history. And I knew it was going to be an epic, historic moment. I make few predictions because I save my predictions for when I know that I'm right. I know this is going to be right. Like last year was going to be the greatest single year in NHRA drag racing history. And it was like bar none, the competition, and that this year would rival it. And it is. But I saw the Stars of Texas drone show at the concert. So I had an advantage on everybody coming in. And if you didn't see the drone show, I think you can go back on NHRA TV and watch it. I'm not exactly sure if that was part of the NHRA.TV broadcast or not. But I don't want to say fireworks are dead, because that's not true. There's always going to be a place for fireworks. But the themed drone show with drag racing and the Christmas tree and the NHRA logo and the Motorplex logo and a funny car going down the track, just amazing, everybody. Like, how is it working? How are they doing that? What are those lights? To see the responses of the naysayers. Oh, there were naysayers out there. I'm not sold on the drone show. And that you will be. Just watch. And they were. There was not a person who said, much like Nitro Drag Racing is, very perfect for us. Much like Nitro Drag Racing. Yeah, I don't know what it's going to be like. And then you watch it and you feel it and you realize it's amazing. It's something amazing that you could have never imagined. Nitro Drag Racing is better than the drone show, like head to head. I'll take the Nitro Drag Racing over the drone show. If I have to choose that, if we're eliminating an element, I would eliminate the drone show over the Nitro Drag Racing. I'll keep the drag racing. But as an added value, it was awesome. And everybody had these light up wristbands and they were connected to the drones. It was really good. Huge investment, by the way, for the Motorplex. Like, that's not something, just anybody could do. But it was great stuff, great moments, and really appreciate all that the Motorplex did, like over and above. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Speaking of going over and above, listen, it's holiday time, guys. Go to Lowe's. You'll see the trees are out. The trees are out. If you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, it's time to start thinking about Christmas gifts. And I highly recommend Frank Hawley's Dragster Adventure for you and the drag racing fan in your life. Send them on a day experience at Frank Hawley's. Maybe your boss needs something great so you can set yourself apart from all those other worker bees. Like, what are they going to get, right? They're going to get them a tie. They're going to get them some chocolates. If you really want to suck up to the boss, get them Frank Hawley's Dragster Adventure. That's what you can do, or vice versa. to your best client, to your best employee. Send them on a drag racing experience at Frank Hawley's. I think it is a great idea, and they can select where they go. That's the thing. They can select where they go. Go to frankhawley.com and find out more about the dragster adventure. And of course, tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. Then there's samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Brian Massengill was out there all weekend. Did I see him? I did not. Brian did not make the effort to come find me. Now, it was so challenging to see any one person. Place was packed and so much going on. Parades and drone shows and fireworks and parties on the starting line and jet cars. It was just amazing, a mega event. The race of the century at the Texas Motorplex. Samtech was there, though. Brandon Bakey's running in the Jigs All-Stars. If you are a younger person, relatively younger, or just looking for a career, if you thought about machining, EFI tuning, motorsport EFI, blocks, cylinder heads, they have programs that can get you started. CNC programming, to me, that's a huge one. Think of all the things that are going to need CNC programming, like SpaceX, rocket programs, NASA programs, weapons makers. Like everybody is going to need a CNC programmer or 50 of them. And that is a job that is going to be wide open and right here in the United States of America. Go to samtech.edu to find out more information. We really appreciate those guys. And the Patreons. These are people who support WFO Radio. They become a VIP. They get a backstage pass, and they take part in things like our Patreon meetup. If you would like to support WFO Radio at a higher level and get additional content like the Hear It From Heiner Pro Stock Show, which is going to be great. We'll talk about the Battle of the Saddle. They did not win the race, but they did win the extra money. We're going to find out. Like, Heiner, what did you do right? Heiner, what did you do wrong? We're going to get into all of that stuff and a very candid discussion about pro stock. Patreon.com/WFO Radio. They get Monday motivation. They haven't in a while, but they'll get something. And the meetup and the camaraderie and supporting WFO Radio behind the scenes. Plus, if you sign up for a year, I'll send you a t-shirt along with your decals and all that other stuff. We got WFO swag up in our store. You can get that through the mobile app, just all kinds of cool stuff. I saw this shirt out there. I definitely saw this shirt out there. These for the holidays, WFO hoodies and coffee mugs. That's all up there on the website. But the one that everybody likes, and apparently something popular that I do, is yell fire when jet cars are on the track. We've got a shirt. The fire t-shirts are available in the WFO store. And I'm telling you openly, wait until they go on sale. They go on sale frequently. So just wait. And if you get the WFO app, we will send you. You could pay full price if you want. That's up to you. Pay full price. Yeah, everybody go pay full price. But these things go on sale on a regular basis. Just watch our social media, and we always push it out there to get it while it's on sale. And then you can load up for the holidays. It is great stuff. And one more thing, everybody was enjoying Drag Race Bracket Bonanza this weekend. Don't forget to get in on it before the final two races. Drag Race Bracket Bonanza, so much fun, unless your bracket gets busted, which everybody's did. When Robert Height and Ron Capps went down, that's called a bracket buster. A lot of people want to know about Project Pontiac. Project Pontiac is continuing on. We are, I hear pistons have been ordered. Machine work is going to be done. We are advancing the ball on Project Pontiac. It's real challenging to advance the ball on Project Pontiac. I'm not Reinhart necessarily, but since the U.S. Nationals, I think I have been out of town 7 of 8 weeks. And now I'll be home this weekend. And it'll be interesting to see what I can accomplish on Project Pontiac. Plenty of work. All right, let's see what everyone's got to say out there. Let's get your comments in the comment section. See what you guys have to say. Right? Let's see. Jeff just saying thanks. Steven couldn't get his bracelet to turn off. There was one on the side of the road. The drone show. Steven says, it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. You're not the only one to say that. It's amazing. And that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about the drone show. Enough, because it's not going to be a drone show every week. It was a Stampede Speed one-off, but everybody loved the drone show. Everybody loved the drone show. It was pretty amazing. How about the Enders documentary? I have yet to watch it. And I'll tell you why. Like, I don't want to give it half attention, like monitoring it while doing something else. Like, I want to lock in for 45 minutes on the Flow Sports, Speed Queens show about Courtney and Erica. I want to lock in on it and enjoy it as opposed to casually observing it to see. I hear that I'm in it, though. I hear I've got like a 10-second cameo, which is great. I love that. Well, here's the things that matter. I heard that the production is excellent, right? I know that the content is excellent. Most of you, like everything you'll know and learn about this is stuff that, we already know. But it's presented for people who don't. And I think it's presented very well, but I will watch it. Revisit the laid back header days, please. Okay. There was a while back, 2017, pretty much, where Jimmy Prock with Jack Beckman figured out. Prior to that, most of the headers were kind of vertical, and there was a theory that you wanted the headers to hold the car down. And, they decided like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we laid these headers back and used the engine force as thrust to move forward? And Jimmy Prock nailed it. And that's when Jack Beckman just started running these incredible records out there on the Western swing. And I think they showed what they had a little too early. But after it broke us out of an era of stagnant elapsed times. The funny cars were like stagnated in the like 390s, 4.0s. And I remember at NHRA, some people then had kind of said like, yeah, this is it. We'll just run 390s and 4.0s. And a 398 will be a great run. And a 405 will be a normal run. And people will accept that, except people won't. And it's something that I say all the time. Like, drag racing is a sport that is based on the breaking of milestones. And we have been forever. And you can't just stop because people will become disinterested. And I felt like they had become disinterested until the laid back headers era. And then I think it all culminated in Kansas, where just everybody was knocking the record off the top and speed records and ET records. And then eventually the cars became very difficult to drive because that headers holding the car down thing was actually a thing. And there was a point where laying it back too much made the cars very, very hard to drive, and only certain drivers were able to get it down through there. And so NHRA made a rule, right? And like, I'm sure some people are out there saying, yeah, make it really hard to drive. Well, okay, but what's the result of it being hard to drive? Cars crashing, cars in the wall. That's not a good thing. Torn up equipment, which costs money and expense. It's real easy to sit at home and just say, yeah, another $100,000 body blown to bits. Awesome. No, that $100,000 has got to come from somewhere, and someone's got to pay for it. And the sport is very expensive already. So NHRA came up with a degree and has stuck with that degree. And now they're back there again. Now they're back where they need to be. 82. The record is a 79, right? That was set in Brainerd, Minnesota by Robert Height on the quickest ever side-by-side run, which I witnessed. And I talked to Robert, and there's an interview in our archive with Robert right after that, the laid-back headers era. But now we're back there. But it took a long time, and it took a very special circumstance. The weather, the track, everything coming together. But amazing. I wouldn't mind if we saw a 379 every once in a while. And I feel the same way about 340. I was kind of hoping for a 340. Like, I want to see that 340 before the year is over. It's just I want to see it. We saw 300 to the 8th, but there's no scoreboard photo. 300 to the 8th. We have to just rely on trust that they went that way. They went that way, right? Well, but where's the scoreboard photo? Well, the scoreboard doesn't show 8th mile speed. Doesn't. So we're robbed of that 340 thing, which I believe, or 300 at the 8th thing, which those photographs go well beyond the drag racing community. And the day that there's a 340 on the board, and on any board, that photograph is going to go around the world a zillion times. And it will probably become drag racing's most publicized photograph. The photo of the 340 on the scoreboard whenever and whoever it happens, whether we want it to happen or whether it's an accident. So What are we going to do? Are we prepared for that moment? The photographers are. They got their cameras. Robillas is ready at any moment. Although this weekend he was not where the action was. Mark, what's up with that? No, I know the answer. All right, let's see. Yes, it was on their coverage, and NHRA TV is number one. The drone show. Incredible. It was one of the greatest things ever. Let's continue on. Here, Scott. Scott came down as a Patreon from Alberta, Canada. Way to go. Everything about the Stampede of Speed was awesome. Great to meet up with all of the Patreons. Thank you, Scott. It was fantastic to see Scott and all of the Patreons. They all came out. We had a good time. We spent time together. That's what being a Patreon of WFO is all about. They went and hung out with Michael Heiner. They went out and hung out with everybody. That Buddy Hull had WFO stickers on his car. Jacob McNeil had WFO stickers on his car. Michael Heiner wore his WFO hat on the starting line. Like, it was the subset of the Stampede of Speed. It's like Fall Nationals, Stampede of Speed, WFO meetup. It was almost an equivalent part of everything. Yeah, nobody believes that. Let's see what else. Art. Joe, you do a spectacular interview sitting in the grandstands in the top end, talking and watching those top dragsters. Thank you for that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You're talking about a bit that we came up with. Thank you very much. That's a Joe Castello, Nikki Shealy social media sure shot called Drive the Stripe. We don't get nearly enough time to do that because it requires some expert guests and a track with an elevated top-end viewing section, the best of which is at the Texas Motorplex. So we did Drive the Stripe for Top Dragster with Dallas Glenn, Bo Butner, Randy Lynn Butner, and Austin Williams. It was originally just going to be me and Dallas. Dallas thought Top Dragster would be a fun class to watch the drivers do their thing. Any racer knows that the best place to watch is the top end, and yet nobody builds grandstands down there, right? And we don't feature that. Like, I think the announcer booth should be down there. We can watch what happens on the starting line on a screen. Let's call the action from the top end of the racetrack. How different would things be? We don't have to do it all the time, but we should be able to do it some of the time. But we don't, because, I think that aspect of the sport is incorrectly designed. It's just a convenience thing. But now we have the technology to put the screens down there and have the racers coming at us instead of away from us. Wouldn't that just be awesome, right? Let's try it somewhere. But instead we have Drive the Stripe, and we had a blast. But the top dragster racers, no offense, guys, you let us down. More than half of the runs were decided by a red light. And we still made it entertaining. Bo and Randy Lynn and Dallas, and then Austin joined us, and we just had a cool hangout session. And what you experienced on that show was what it's like to be a racer or diehard race fan and watch racing at any Saturday night track, any bracket track, at any $1 million race, at any big money race. Like, that's where people cluster. They want to see the drivers drive. Leaving the starting line, anybody should be able to do that. Anybody should be able to have a 00 light. Of course, that is a mandatory part of every race, the starting line. It's a mandatory part. Uninitiated want to see the burnout. They want to hear the sounds. That's great. Cars spend way more time on the starting line, so you see the cars more. But really, the finish line is where it's happening. The finish line is where it's all happening. And, I don't know that people do a good enough job, people who cover the sport, of highlighting this area. I wish I had more time to do Drive the Stripe at every single race. We just don't. We don't have the time, the manpower, the people. In a perfect world, there would be a screen down there. There'd be a CompuLink screen. We could see the reaction times. We could analyze the race as it was happening. It would be awesome with the racers coming at us. But when you go red, like 50% of the time, then it just becomes a BS session, which is what it was. And we had a great time. Thank you, Art. Put a lot of effort into it. Thank you for recognizing the creative greatness that is Drive the Stripe. Yes, I'm patting ourselves on the back because most people don't even know that it's happening. Billy, everyone scoffs when I talk about Erica being all about growing. Ha ha. Yeah. That's not E's thing. Ben Blomberg, my buddy from Finland who lives in Texas. This guy, we hung out. I don't know when it was, Ben. It was Tuesday or Wednesday. He was out there for the entire Stampede of Speed. He brought all his friends in from Finland to watch the Stampede of Speed in Texas. and did a great job. He's got a beautiful race car. Good hanging out with you, Ben. That we had fun. And now, see, like a name becomes a friend and a connection. It was awesome. Look at this. It's Doug Gordon. We have VIP audience members. Love the fire. This is an old comment, but still. Doug, good job, buddy. Congratulations to you and your family. Doug Gordon was the first person to ever put me in a funny car and lower the body on me and scare the crap out of me. And the fact that he's gone on to be a 3-time champion and now it's like making way for his daughter. He loves driving just as much as he ever did, but he's going to voluntarily step out and give up the fun of the moment, surrender it to his offspring so that she may enjoy it and grow in the sport and experience the same wonderful things that he has and maybe even beyond. Like that is what is supposed to happen and amazing. And I can't wait to have you on the show, Doug, to talk all about it. You tell me when you're ready. Tell me. And they the sad part is, Doug, like you got a couple more races, I'm sure, but you'll never experience like the anxiety of like you're a champ. You'll want to win the race, but that's your last championship fight. Enjoyed a great show. Talking about the drone show, I'm sure. Mike Marshall, did I see the cool P-Stalker at Texas? I don't know. You'd have to give me more information. Did I see the cool P-Stalker? I saw a whole bunch of cool stalkers, but I don't know exactly what you're referencing. I saw a cool O-Stalker spot dropping down there to win the Jegs All-Stars. I wish I could bring it up. I did see a couple of cool cars that I just am having trouble remembering, probably in my phone. Monday Morning Racer, it was an epic Fall Nationals. Lee Kraft, I was on his show, or Darren's show, I just muscled in. Sorry, Lee. I was feeling particularly ornery at that moment. You're a friend, and I wanted to come and just have a friend moment. So got in on your show. Everybody go watch it. Let's see. Phil Brown, my first NHRA event. Now it's all I think and talk about. Thank you, Stephen Glenn, for taking me. Way to go. This is what it is for us. There are so many people that they put on the NFL and they're like, yeah, it's going to be on next Sunday. I'll watch it again. Drag racing is harder. It's a harder deal. Cars, racing, what is that? My parents told me those were bad people. They got grease on them. That's not what it is anymore. Everybody has got to bring somebody to the track. It's the only way we're going to grow. Am I doing a live stream tomorrow? There is a high probability that tomorrow we will have Leah. Tomorrow's Wednesday, right? We will have Leah and Matt Hagan together at 2 p.m. Eastern time. But this is why you have to watch and follow WFO Radio's social media. This is why you have to download the WFO Radio mobile application. You go to the mobile app, you download the mobile app, you enable push notifications, and then you never miss anything that we do. You can see all our shows right here in the mobile app. Like you tap on it and look, there we are, right? Audio or video, the mobile app for iPhone, for Android. Enable push, never miss anything. You'll never miss anything. But yes, we're working on a live stream tomorrow with Leah and Matt. We're working on Erica. We're working on Gaige. We're working on Doug Gordon and Julie Nataas. We're working on everyone. We want to get Troy Olsenowski on to just talk about his job. Joe, including WFO Radio, I love NHRA Insider Live with Brian Lones and Tony Pedregon. At the track, definitely. Those guys are great. They're doing it at the track. They're trying to get that game day feel going. Trying to get that game day feel going. Now, I haven't been invited to participate in that. They don't think I know how to do that stuff yet, but that's okay. You know that your Dolphins are playing against my Raiders eventually, but this weekend we're playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I have a whole bunch of people up there in Philadelphia land that I will be home and able to enjoy a game. Isn't that cool? As I always say, I should go and take photos at the Top End Venice. It looks perfect. You really should have. It's one of the best places in all the land to watch, which is why we did our WFO meetup there. Loved how so many people jumped in to help the Gordon family for the finals of the Fall Nats. But I'm not surprised. Like, they're wonderful people and a wonderful family. Like, why would you not? Drag racers should come. The sport of drag racing has changed dramatically from its early era. when people in many ways rooted for others to blow their stuff up. Okay. The old era is not the best era. The best era is happening now. The old timers who say that that was the best era, they're reliving their youth, and I have no doubt that it was the best to them. But more people could do it, and there were junkyard parts, and it was a lot cheaper and less expensive. Now the people that are there realize that everybody needs help. We need every racer. We need them. We can't afford for any racer to blow up their stuff and go broke and not be able to show up at the track. We need to grow the amount of racers that are there. And so everybody, when you're there, they can help you. And what you saw in Top Alcohol Funny Car and the Bartone team, who just experienced the agony of defeat, and they put it aside. What's better? What would you rather have? And, which is a bigger topic that I'm going to get to in the off season. Like, everybody wants acrimony with our people. Yeah, I want to see these people fight against each other. You know what? I've decided now, as I've evolved and gotten a little older, I don't want to see acrimony. I want to see camaraderie. They'll decide it on the track. If they point their fingers at each other and yell at each other, that's one thing. Friends do that. If it goes over the line and becomes anger or hatred or something that you might see on one of these reality TV shows, I don't want that. I've experienced the best, and I've experienced the worst, and I've experienced people working together to achieve a common goal, and I've seen people fighting against each other with anger and disharmony. And one is just so much better. One is just way better. And if that is not what the masses want to watch, I think we can survive without the masses. My opinion. Let's see, this Facebook user. I just realized that Leah raced the same 4 drivers in the last 2 races. Race 1 was Sean, Doug, Steve, and lost to Clay. This weekend, raced Sean, Doug, Clay, and won over Steve. This says she is real. There's no doubt that Leah is real. Okay. But that is an interesting stat. And, the randomness of drag racing. Grant, when are we going to get back on .tv feed with more BSing with the boys? That happens on social, man. That's not, get me back. I was back on .tv this weekend, Grant. What do you mean? I was there. I didn't work NHRA on Fox this weekend. I worked .tv. I was BSing with the boys. Me and Galvin and Logan and Reinhart. We had Chris Monahan in the house. Like, we had a bunch of people there. I called Julie Nataas' world championship. But I get what you're saying. A little more lighthearted stuff. At this race, there was so much going on. Me and Galvin, I think we tore it up. First round of the Jegs All-Stars. Monahan, we had a great time. But I get your point. More Joe. Good point. Blake, I love the new graphics on NHRA on Fox. Yes, I definitely agree. New graphics, better. Great job at the Stampede. Speed. Fly, Eagles, fly. Get out of here. That nonsense. Dolphins, Raiders, November 19th. Okay, Jimmy Ryan. All right. Drama is what drives ratings, not saying, and of course something pops up on my computer, not saying no one, look at the, well, yeah, I can't even read that. It's got so much going on in between me and what I need to see. Here we go. The drama is what drives ratings, not saying everyone needs to hate each other, but that's what the world wants. Look at F1. Yeah. The drama is what happens on the track. The drama is Ron Capps, who's in a championship fight, going out first round, smoking the tires, and now putting himself way behind, right? The drama is not 2 guys, yelling at each other. It's everyone's personal opinion about what they want to watch. But I think that just, a couple of guys yelling at each other is, easy, lowbrow, basic. The drama is what's happening in pro stock, where Erica Enders now has won the race and is going in for a 6th championship. And what is Greg Anderson and Dallas Glenn and Matt Hartford going to do about it? What are they going to do? Are they going to go out there and run their own race? Are they going to let it slip away? Are they going to just acquiesce? Are they going to just be beaten? Are they going to make a move So what? Someone yells at someone, right? Or points a finger, or even a shove or a push. Like, you want to know that people care. How about Julie Nataas getting onto the ground and just breaking down into tears for a few seconds about the moment? Like, our version of drama. The F1 thing. What Red Bull and Mercedes and Horner and but they are never yelling at each other. They're just trash talking each other, which is okay. And they're also getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars, or at least tens of millions of dollars. I don't know what Christian Horner gets paid, tens of millions of dollars. It's a lot easier to not care about getting along with anyone when you're getting an 8-figure paycheck. Like, if I'm getting an 8-figure paycheck, then I might not have to engage with anybody else at all, ever. I could go around, making enemies and buying their families' ancestral homes and bulldozing them. Like, I could do that. Like, Johnson, where do your parents live? Buy their home, evict them. Like, you get that much money, you can do anything. This is a real world where drag racers are paying large sums to be together on the weekends. Like, I don't want them to hate each other. That's a bad example, by the way. I take it back. You let me know about the game. Music in Texas DJ, I thought, did a great job, says Ricky. Yeah, Laney. Laney is a fun guy, and he's the Texas Motorplex's entertainment coordinator, and he does a great job, and we get along fantastic. I don't think we want the drivers to hate each other. It is for them to be authentic. Exactly. Just be authentic. If you get along, be authentic. Just be authentic, which, who's not being authentic? Nobody. They're all being authentic now. That's an old line. That's the thing. So many NHRA fans are stuck in 10 years ago. They're stuck in 10 years ago. You got authentic out there. Steve Torrence, nothing but authentic. John Force, authentic. Robert Height, authentic. Like, that's him. J.R. Todd, authentic. That's him. Leah, they're all what they are. I've been around them on the air and off the air, in victory and defeat. We've got a bunch of authentic drivers. We've got great drama on the track. We've got it all going on right now. It's never been better than right now. Just wrap your mind around that. It's never been better than right now. This is as good as it has ever been, but not as good as it ever will be, because NHRA is out, working on their next television deal. They're working on their next title sponsor. They've got this great sport. Got a lot of really diehard fans that love it a lot. And events like the Stampede of Speed have taken things to the next level and have demonstrated to track operators, just do something more. Show the fans and the drivers that you care about them, and they will come. All right, guys, watch that social media. Hopefully Leah and Matt tomorrow. Had ourselves a great time. WFO.